talking about teenagers and beyond today, which Brianna
Something.
and I know nothing about
Right.
and are not prepared for at all. But we
Nope.
have some experts in the building with us
Yes,
today.
we do. Very excited to welcome two special guests today to show us the ropes or tell us the ropes about teenagers and beyond. So we have Lisa and Melody. Welcome.
Welcome. Thank you for
Thank
coming.
you.
Thank you both. So we'll give you guys, as they used to say in school, the floor for a few minutes. If you want to just introduce yourselves, what do you do? How many kids you have? Ages, gender. So, Mel, we could start with you.
Okay. Well, hello. I am Melody Simmons. I wear a couple hats. I am the director of the Lewis Simmons Foundation. It's a foundation that focuses on education and bridging the gap in the brown and black communities, as far as trying to ensure that we are educated and that we are getting the same opportunities of all the other ethnicities. I also am the data analyst slash office manager for the Illinois Minority Business Development Agency. I'm currently standing in as the director, but that is not my job there, but that's currently what I'm doing. And we help people grow their businesses. We generally work with tier two businesses to find capital, grants, opportunities, networking, contracts, etc., etc. I am a mother of two. I have a boy and a girl, so I have the best of both worlds. And they are both teenagers. My son is 16. He just got his license about 2 or 3 weeks ago, actually. And my daughter is 14. So that's a little about me and my tribe.
And fun fact,
Welcome.
Melody is also Trey's aunt, or his TT, as he calls
Yes,
it. So,
yes.
TT. I love
That is my Bobo.
yeah.
it. I love it. Well, welcome, Melody. Thank you for coming.
Yeah, thank
And
you.
Thank you for having me.
yeah, of course. And Lisa, tell us a little bit about yourself. I
Well,
mean,
my
I
name,
already know, but nobody else does.
my name is Lisa Hayes. I'm not gonna tell you my age, but I mother of two. I'm currently not working just because I have some health issues, so I'm disabled. But when I was working, I worked in cosmetics for like over 15 years. I started out in retail and then moved to freelance. That's how I met Erica. I think it was at a Bobby Brown training, and
Mhm.
I just kind of hit it off. So, like I said, I'm not working. I have chronic kidney disease, and I'm trying to get on the list for a transplant. So I'm unable to work now. So that's what I'm dealing with now. And I have two teenagers. I definitely have my hands full. I have a 17-year-old daughter who's a senior this year. And my son, he just turned 15 like 2 weeks ago, and he is a freshman this year. I have one leaving high school and one just coming in.
Coming into high school.
So, yes, and I'm married. I've been married 15 years and we've been together for 20 years. So that's a
Ooh.
whole,
That's a whole other podcast.
Yeah, that's gonna be next season,
Yeah.
baby.
that's
Well,
a little,
thank you for joining us and for sharing. Thank you.
Yes.
you're welcome. Thank you for having me.
Of course. So, like we said, we don't know anything about this. Like, I feel like most of the episodes we've had something to contribute to the conversation. But aside from, I've known Melody's kids since they've been really, really little. I think Camille, her daughter, was 3 the first time I met her. And I think Christian might have been 4, maybe, or going on 5. But I don't know anything about having my own teenager. So we really want to kick off the discussion with just asking you guys, like, how does parenting a teenager differ from parenting when they're young? Me and Erica still have toddlers, so we're in the early stages. But what are the biggest differences between parenting a younger kid and a teenager?
Oh,
For me, I would say they actually have an opinion now. So that's the most difficult part. When they're smaller, you don't really have to deal with them. They tell you no, but they really don't have a choice. As they grow older, they have, more feelings. They have their own opinions about how they feel about things. So I think for me, that's the biggest difference, and adjusting to allowing them to express their feelings.
Mm.
And I feel like this generation in general is just so different. I feel like when I was growing up, it was always, my mom just, she said, and now I feel like kids are so like opinionated, which is a good thing. And I feel like they, I don't know, like stand their ground more. Like my kids are always
Yeah.
so free, mom, I think this is wrong or blah, blah, blah. And it was none of that when I was younger. So.
Yeah, I would say I agree with you. I don't want to say they challenge us, but kind of, I would say it's like we didn't challenge our parents. It was like whatever we said, whatever your parents said is what you did. With the kids, like you said, now they're different. So it's not that they challenge you as much, but they do stand on how they feel more than how we did, I think.
Which is a good thing, because I used to be scared of my mom, and it was a lot of stuff I wouldn't tell her, but I'm happy that my kids feel like close and open to me where they can like, I'm sorry, my dog just jumped.
It's okay.
Oh, no, you're fine.
Like pretty like personal and pretty heavy things. So
do you both feel that way? Do you feel like you have a closer relationship with your kids than you did with your parents at their ages?
Oh, definitely.
Really?
Definitely. Especially with my daughter. I feel like she tells me everything, and I didn't feel like I could do that when I was her age.
I think that's so great. And I think that's so important. I know and I know it's different with me being his mother. I don't necessarily expect Trey, when he's 14, 15 years old, to be coming to me and telling me everything. I'm sure he'll have that relationship with his dad more so, or even his big brother, or even Christian. He loved him some Christian. Even Christian, Melody's son, which is his bigger, his older cousin. But I would want him, because I feel like Christian is like that with you, Mel. Like I feel like he tells you things more than like guys my age did when I was a teenager.
Right.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, and I want that flow, but I also want that disciplinarian, like, and that's where, he's 2 now, and I kind of struggle with that now. Like the other day I was having a conversation with him, like, I know you don't want to go to sleep, but you have to go to sleep. And Eric was like, this ain't no conversation. He just go to sleep. He said go to sleep. Like, what are you doing? I'm like, well, I want him to understand that he's allowed to be upset, or he's allowed to have his feelings. And I think maybe I'm jumping the gun on having that type of relationship, because now he is young and it is more about establishing myself as a disciplinarian. So over time, for the both of you, how have you managed that evolution of being more of the disciplinarian, and it is more of like what I say go, to ushering in this kind of new, I feel like when your kids become teenagers, that's almost when you start to shift from being their parent to being more their friend, because they're about to become adults and be able to make their own decisions. So how have you guys navigated, or what are some things that you've done to kind of initiate or sustain that shift? Or have you noticed a shift since they've, become teenagers?
For me, I think I agree where you said at a younger age you have to establish yourself as a disciplinarian, because that kind of paves the way for how they're going to behave as they get older, when they see their peers doing things that they know they shouldn't be doing. I think a lot of times, and even in me talking to my kids, those things register to them, even though we may think that they weren't listening when we were saying those things, or maybe the first time they didn't do what we told them to do. But it's something that the second time around, it'll register. So for me, disciplining my children at an early age was beneficial, because now they're older and they take those references and they apply them to their teenage years and making decisions when they're around their peers that aren't always making the best decisions.
And with me, I found with discipline my kids, I didn't have to discipline them a lot when they were younger. It's funny, I have to discipline them now that they're older, but they were good kids. When I did discipline them, I never really believed in like spanking. I do like a tap on the hand, but I didn't believe in like, hitting them with the belt or anything like that. We did more like taking stuff away, putting them in timeout, things like that. But now that they're older, we're still taking stuff away because, teenagers are glued to that phone. So as soon as they give me that phone, give me them AirPods, give me that Apple Watch, give me, I'll take everything just depending on the level of, I'll let them keep certain electronics if what they did wasn't too bad. But if they really did something bad, I'm taking everything. So, like, I don't believe in that whole I'm your friend thing. Like, I'm going to be her parent first. So, she's got friends. So, and I tell her that all the time when she gets a little, like, snappy at the mouth, I'm like, I'm not one of your friends, don't talk to me like that. So I don't know.
Yeah, that is good. You have to set that boundary because I find I see a lot of people wanting to be their child's friend and not wanting their child to be upset with them or think that they, aren't the fun parent and something like that. But that's not what you're here for. I feel like
I think that's where you lack in conversation. Because for me, part of my discipline is talking. I'm like Lisa. I'm not the parent that's gonna whoop you or whatever. I don't think that that's always effective because after so long, those whoopings become ineffective, and they just rather take the whooping, and go on and about their day and do what they were already doing, right? So for me, if I'm gonna discipline you or take something from you, we're gonna have a conversation about why I'm disciplining you and why I'm taking this and what are the effects of the bad decision that you have made so that you understand that, you might look at me right now in this moment like I'm the bad parent, but this is something that you're going to benefit from in the end.
Right. And that was something I'm sure you instilled in them young because you guys now have that open conversation and always have. So it's nothing new for them to know why they're getting in trouble and the repercussions for their mistakes. Yeah.
It's funny because now before, like, even if it's something, grades or they get a bad grade or something, the first thing they'll text me is, don't be mad. Like, I know I shouldn't have did this, or I know you're going to be disappointed. So it's like they already know before it comes. So, it's like expected.
Right. They know what your expectations are.
Right.
Yep.
I feel like that's good. It's almost like they're taking responsibility for it. Like they know that they made a poor decision somewhere, whether that led to a bad grade or whatever else. So they're almost letting you know in the door, like, I know, Mom, don't be mad, but I'm telling you just so that you know, but I already know that this is not what I'm supposed to be doing and I'm gonna get it together, kind of thing.
Right.
Which I like. Because I feel like in our age, and you guys can let me know too if you feel this way about your kids. I feel like I snuck to do everything. And I don't know why, because my mom was not strict at all. It was like a free-for-all. Like she whatever. But like there was some rules, but my mom was just not the disciplinarian and my dad wasn't really around. So it was like she would say something, it's like, but you're not gonna do nothing. So ta-ta. But with your kids now, I wonder, like, because you have such an open relationship, do you guys feel like your kids even are sneaky? I feel like we were just a sneakier generation than like what you guys are describing. I feel like kids now, if you have a good relationship, like from what you guys have described, I don't feel like kids really like sneak around as much as like we did. So how do you guys feel? Do you guys feel like your kids are pretty upfront, like you were saying, Melody, like upfront and honest when they've done something wrong or made a poor decision? Or do you feel like you still kind of have to go behind them or kind of dig to get it out of them?
For the most part, yeah, they're pretty honest. I guess it just depends on the kid, really, because my daughter more like she's very upfront, very Bree, like she tells you
Channel 7
everything.
News. Camille gonna tell you everything.
It's more. I'll say the sneaky is more about maybe the people that she's around because she knows what I would expect or who I would the company that I would want her to keep. So that's probably more of the sneaky thing, what the other people on the outside are doing around her, but not really them per se, I don't think they're sneaky as much. But like you said, I think it was maybe, it probably was more our generation, because our parents were more like strict and no, you can't do this. And I won't say even in my household, because with my parents, it was always like I would ask my mom and she would be like, I don't care. But if I ask my dad, he's like, go ahead. So if he said go ahead, it was like, okay, we could do it. So it's like my parents gave us an inch. And if we messed it up, then okay, it's taken away. So no, I don't. So I kind of try to have that same relationship with my kids. So no, they're not sneaky. They'll ask me, to do anything, to go anywhere. They'll tell me what the party is about. What's going on at the party. So I don't, not so much. I agree with you, Bree. I think it was more our generation.
Yeah, I used to do
I know I was thinking, but see, my mom was the opposite. My mom was super strict, and I had to sneak to be able to do anything. So much so that I hardly did anything. Like that one time I snuck and went to I went to your house, and then we went to another party that I wasn't supposed to go to, and I got in trouble for that. But
I'm sorry.
Oh yeah, girl, I got it. One of the only times I got it wasn't your fault.
I'm sorry.
It wasn't your fault because I lied and said, remember it was a party at Tanya's house.
I do remember. Oh yeah. And your mom told my mom, and Tanya's, shout out to T, but your mom told my mom, like, yeah, I don't like Erica to hang out with her. And my mom was like, well, why would she say that? I was like, I don't know, Mom. She must be kidding. No one, and I knew why she was saying that, but I just wanted to go. So we digress. But yeah, I feel like there's more of that happened in art. And I don't know if that's because of technology or just because I feel like parents too now, you have to watch your kids in more ways and in more spaces than our parents did. Like
and
now,
so
yeah.
Now too, I feel like.
How do you, Lisa, I assume that your kids, like you said, they have electronics and things. So when it comes to like social media, like parenting in the social media era, how have you managed, or even just the technology area, them being able to text and do all these other things, access the internet, how have you set boundaries for your kids when it comes to like technology and social?
Now, I will be honest, my husband and I have been like really lax with our daughter when it comes to technology. So I don't like go behind her and check her phone and like her history and stuff like that. I know a lot of people do, but I just don't. It's just something we just don't do. We trust her. She's a really good kid. She's never been in trouble. So we just don't do that. Now, my son, on the other hand, he just got his phone. He's 15. He just got his phone last year. And with him, it's just start total opposites. We got to see what he's looking at, what he's been. He gives us his phone at night before he goes to bed. And not because he's like gotten in trouble, but just because I guess he's a boy and he's more curious about certain things.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's all you had to say. I know exactly what you're talking about.
I cut behind him more. So.
That makes sense. Melody, what about you?
I'm like Lisa, I don't check behind them. I really don't. I think I've only looked at my daughter's phone once. Now I have the ability, I know their codes, but like I said before, my daughter sits next to me and talks to her friends and tells me, what's going on. So I really don't feel like
you have to.
I have to check anything. Like I said, she's really open. And even her friends are always like, are you like really sitting next to your mom talking to us? Because of course they're using all kind of language and talking about boys and all the stuff that's going on. And she's just like, yeah, my mom's right here. Like, So yeah, I think it is a lot that you have to watch. But like, I think if you're open and you talk to your kids, I think they'll tell you. They'll talk to you about what's going on, because a lot of these kids they're dealing with a lot more than we deal with.
Yes.
So it's just important to keep that communication open, I think, and you don't really have to watch every little thing that they're doing on social.
Now, did you have an age that you felt comfortable with allowing them to have either like, a Facebook, Instagram, or even a cell phone?
My daughter, she got her first little flip cell phone when she had her first sleepover. And I didn't let her sleep over at people's houses until she was much older. I want to say she was maybe like 8, maybe. I don't know. And
That's
then
not old. My mom didn't let me sleep over nobody's house till I was 11 at Sable's house, and my dad had to go and do a perimeter, and I was so embarrassed. Like, so that's not old. Don't feel bad.
she was, and yeah, I wanted her to have a phone for the sleepover. It was just a little flip phone. And then she started doing gymnastics, and she would be, you know, away at the gym, and I want her to have her little phone just in case, you know, she needed it. And my son, we didn't think that he was ready to have a phone until he was older. So, yeah.
I think my son probably got his first phone maybe 4th grade, maybe 4th or 5th grade, something like that. My daughter got her phone a little later, only because he's the oldest. So if he was with her all the time anyway, so it's like I had a way to communicate with them. So yeah, later on, but not. I don't. Now kids are getting phones almost out of the womb. So
Yeah.
That's why I was
it's
asking,
too
because
early.
yeah, like for us, I
Mhm.
know I couldn't have a phone until I had a job. My mom was like, I'm not paying for no cell phone. When you get your job, you can have a cell phone. But now it's just a totally different story. Not only because they want them, but also for like safety reasons.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
There was a little
But for the
girl.
social, we don't do Facebook or anything like
Yeah.
that. They do have an Instagram because
Okay.
that's a little less being able to,
My kids,
comment and make your own statuses besides like pictures or whatever. They do the TikTok because all the kids do that. But my son doesn't, and Bree will tell you, my son doesn't really post social media. He's an athlete, so we kind of try to keep him away from the
That's good.
social because you never know where he's going, and you don't want anybody to come back later saying you posted this or you said that. So
Mhm.
we're kind of careful about what we post and what social platforms we're on too.
my daughter, she's not on Facebook. She says Facebook is for old people. So
Oh yeah, that
Mhm.
too.
I believe it.
Yeah, they're all about the TikTok nowadays. It's all about TikTok.
And listen, I can't even get with TikTok. I don't even like.
I felt so old when I logged into TikTok, and social media management is part of what I do outside of my full-time job. And Erica, Mel, you know that. And I got on TikTok. I was like, I guess I should know what this is. And I was like, nope, this is not for me. I like watching.
Yeah, but that's
Like,
about it.
I follow Camille, and like I see her little dance videos and stuff that she does. But like me actually making a TikTok, it'll take me like an hour to make a 15-second TikTok.
Listen, we can barely keep up with the Instagram reel.
Right.
I was just gonna say I can't even get the moves down. You already
Right.
trying to learn backwards.
Right. I can't do it. I cannot do it. So I know you guys have both said, it sounds like you both have pretty good, trusting relationships with your kids. Did either of you, did that come easily and just kind of naturally flow as they became teenagers, specifically with the girls? Because that was why I didn't want a girl, because no. But with your sons too, like, have you experienced any hurdles or obstacles in kind of evolving your relationship from, when they're little to now teenagers, where they have the opinions, they have the ability to go places, cars, licenses, and all that? Establishing that trust and establishing that open relationship, did that just come naturally and easy, or were there obstacles? And if so, what were they?
Well, I know for me, I had a lot of obstacles because my mom and we don't have a relationship, and my mom wasn't in my life. So when parenting my daughter, I was kind of like growing up with her. I was just like, learning things along with her. But thankfully, my husband, he came from a really good family. So, and he's a really good dad. So I learned a lot about watching him, be a parent to our kids. I forgot what was the second part of the question. I'm so sorry.
Just asking if you did have obstacles, if you could share, if you're comfortable sharing what some of them were.
Yes. So like I was saying, my relationship was difficult with my mom. So with me, I was like terrified to have a daughter because I didn't want our relationship to be like my mom's and I's relationship. So I've had to work I feel like extra hard to make sure I didn't show like favoritism towards my son, like how my mom did me. It was just a lot. Like I had to go to counseling for it, to like get myself in check. And, my therapist was like, you need to put all of your hopes in the relationship that you wanted with your mom into your relationship with your daughter. And so what I've been trying to do.
I think you're doing a great job. You and Lisa have a great relationship.
That's my little buddy. That's my best friend.
Mm-hmm.
I love that.
And with my son, it is just so like, it's totally different raising boys and girls. I feel like my son is just so easy. Like he just does whatever I says. He's always like, okay, mom, like I never have to get on to him about anything. He's just such a good kid. So I've just been really, really lucky with that. But
it sounds like
every chance she gets, she challenges. So her and I's relationship has been a struggle, but we are definitely in a great place now. That's my best friend.
That's good. I love that.
Right.
Now, what about you?
For me, I agree with Lisa. The boys are pretty easy. The only struggle with me for my son, and Bree can attest to this, he doesn't talk a lot. So getting any information out of him is like, so for instance, I'm like, how was your day at school today? It was cool. So I can't get detail. It's like, not what do we learn in class, somebody fell down the stairs today, nothing, so it's like, I don't get a lot out of him, and he's like really cool, calm, and collective. If I ask him to do something, he'll do it. And it's funny because even if I find myself like rattled or whatever, he's the one that's like, Mom, it's okay. You don't have to do all that. Just like relax, With my daughter, I didn't have anybody to tell me like Lisa that, take that energy that you want with your mother and put it into your daughter. But that's what I find myself doing with my daughter. The things that I would have wanted from my mother, I find myself making sure that I'm giving that to my daughter. So that's kind of how I'm navigating it, and it's, been pretty smooth thus far.
That's so interesting. Just how, because I feel like when we experience deficits as kids with our own parents, we either do everything we can and run in the complete opposite direction to not recreate that, or we end up ultimately falling into like the same kind of patterns. And so for me, that's why like we had a gender reveal for Trey, and I was praying that it was not a girl. I said, because my relationship with my mom, it's okay, but it's not what I wanted to be or what I needed growing up. And I didn't feel like I was adequate to raise a daughter. Like I felt like a son, cool. I could handle a son. Like I know his dad's family, that he comes from a great family, like really strong male example. So I knew that he would be like good, and I could do what I needed to do as a boy mom. But like a girl, I feel like when you're a woman and you have a girl, like that's all you, like that, you know what I mean? And I was just like, because I didn't get what I needed from my mom. But it makes me feel good to hear you both say that doesn't necessarily have to mean that you're going to like fall into the same patterns. There's an opportunity to change. Not that I'm planning on having any more kids, but God drops a daughter on me one day. It's good to know that like it doesn't have to be a repeat of what I experienced or what I, wished I would have experienced.
Yeah, I felt the same way.
I think, and what you said was really pertinent, that people try so hard not to be that person that eventually you fall into it. You know what I mean? So if you don't focus on trying not to be somebody else and just trying to be the best parent that you can be, I think that gets you a lot further than trying to navigate not doing what somebody else did as a parent.
Yeah. And especially parenting to what your child needs, because every child is different. Every child needs something different. So. What you may have lacked as a child is maybe not something that your child actually needs.
Yeah, that's a good point too. And being able to recognize what your kids need. How is that? It's specifically, I think, with your sons, because I think you both have good relationships where you're able to talk and communicate and get what you need probably from your daughters. But with your sons, because we, you know, Erica and I both have sons, Erica's about to have 2 sons.
Mm-hmm.
How is that? Like, to your point, Mel, like when you're trying to get something out of Christian and he's just not giving you what you need, I guess, I see myself struggling with that because I'm the type of person I need to know what's going on. So like, how have you been able to just kind of trust that when he says it's cool, it's cool, and not know when to push and know when to just like kind of trust him and quiet your own anxiety or maybe worry that you could be having? Asking for
For me, I think at first with Christian, because he doesn't talk as much, I think maybe I was kind of trying to push him to give me information, you know, talk to me or whatever. But then I started to see, you know, when he was, you know, going through something or needed to talk to me about something, that he would come to me. So it's kind of like you got to trust that they're gonna tell you, you know, and pay attention to your kids' behavior, because when things, you know, when they start acting differently, whether it's acting up or it might not even be a bad behavior, you know what I mean? You just got to pay attention to the differences. And sometimes that'll tell you too, you know, if something's going on with your kid.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think like about that now because Trey is talking, but you know, everything doesn't come out clear. So I have to really pay attention to, and I think some parents overlook this, but really pay attention, like you said, to the behaviors, like the little things, like things that he starts doing. And I know I don't do that. I know his dad doesn't do that. So where are you getting this from? Like, who are you picking this up from? Or if he starts to say certain phrases over and over again, like, who told you that? Where'd you hear that from? So that kind of, I think that continues throughout really parenthood, period. I think even when a joke, because my mom would be like, what's wrong? You don't sound right. You don't look right. You know, and I'd be like, I'm cool. And I'm not, but it's like, I don't feel like talking to her about it, or it's not something that I want to share, but she picks up on that. So, okay, behaviors. Got it. Because I don't want to be the mom that pushes so hard that it turns my child off from, like, to your point, from wanting to come to me when he really needs me. Like, you know, I don't need to necessarily hear about your day to day. I would love to, but I do want to know, and I do want him to be able to come to me when he really needs me. I don't want him to feel like he can't talk to me if it's really good, or even if it's really bad, like whatever it is, I want him to feel like he can come to me.
Right.
Yeah, because I noticed myself, even with Elijah, I mean, he's only 3, but he's in preschool now, and he comes home, and when he first was coming home, I'd ask him about his day. He'll just say, it was good. But then I've started asking him, like, you know, what are your friends' names? And what did you do with your friends? And now because he's used to me asking him that, when I ask him how his day was, then he goes into, oh, well, Alexander was making red choices today, and I did this and I did that. So I'm trying to, because I know I used to be like that, where I would just be like, oh, it was fine, and not really want to talk. And I know boys, like we said, can be a little bit more closed off. That I want him to be more open and used to talking to me, and comfortable in knowing that I'm not gonna, like, if he told me he made red choices today, that I'm not gonna go off on him about it, but I'm gonna talk to him about why he made red choices and, you know, the consequences of doing that.
Yeah. I feel like boys too, like if you ask them too many questions, like grown men, if you ask them too many questions in like rapid succession, it's like they
shut down.
Like they shut down and have to restart. Like they can't deal with you asking
They're
them.
annoyed.
Yeah, it's like, I don't know. It's like they clam up even more. So it's like you have to be very selective with your language and ask the right question to get the answer that you're looking for, so you don't have to follow up so many times. So that's good to know that there's still, you know, kind of a way to pick up on those cues without having to like, I just don't want to be that mom. And I feel like, especially for us, like Black women, that's the stereotypical Black mom that's all in your business and just fussing at you all the time, asking you a million questions. I just don't want to be that for Trey. Like, I want him to feel like, you know, mom is cool. I can come to her about stuff. She don't be like, I know not to mess with her, not to cross that line, but she's not going to be on me just for the sake of being on me, getting on my nerves. Because I feel like a lot of men our age assuming we're all in the same like 30 to 40 age bracket, that's what they went through. And I feel like that's why they act how they do. But that's a different podcast.
What about you, Lisa? How do you feel like you are able to communicate with Lucas?
Well, luckily, him and I are really close. He tells me pretty much everything. Some things he tells me that he doesn't even like tell his dad. He'll ask me about girls, and because he's starting to notice girls now, and so he'll just ask my advice on different things. So I've been lucky that we're just naturally close. It's something about that mother and son bond. So we've always super close. So, and I can always tell, when something is bothering him, and all I have to do is just ask him and he'll tell me,
That's
and
so good.
Things feel comfortable telling me, and he'll say, I already talked to dad about it, or I'm okay. But I can normally tell when something is off.
That's so good. I love to hear that. So you brought up like girls and dating. So how has that been? Because I feel like both of you, your kids are in that age where like girlfriend, boyfriend, going on dates and all of that. Christian and Camille had dates for homecoming this year. I was not prepared. I was fine with Christian, but when I saw Camille pull up with a young man, I was like, nobody told me about this. Like what? So how has that been? Like, what are your rules, if any, around like dating, and what has that been like for you as parents, as mothers, to just kind of be like, is it weird? Is it awkward? Is it gross? Like, what is it like?
Luckily for me, my daughter has been a late bloomer, so she hasn't really gotten to like the boy crazy stage, I guess. She's only had like maybe one boyfriend, and she's very, very private too. So even if she won, like I wouldn't know, because she doesn't feel comfortable talking to me about stuff like that. But we told her that she can date. She is allowed to have a boyfriend if she wants. But she's not into that. She always says, I'm just focusing on school right now. I don't want a boyfriend. She's like, I see all the drama that my friends have with theirs. She's like, I just don't want that. I don't need that. And I'm like, good for you, girl. You better keep that.
Yeah.
Now my son is totally different, because like I said, they are complete opposites. So he is like girl crazy. So his dad has really been like talking to him and giving him advice and stuff about girls.
Has he been on a date yet, or had a girlfriend or anything?
My son, he's very shy. He's always asking me questions like how he can like work on his confidence so he can go up to a girl and say hi, because he's like super reserved. So, but no, he has not gone out on a date or anything like that. He keeps saying girls aren't into freshmen. Girls don't like freshmen. So
yeah. He's waiting for next year to get his Mac on. Mel, what about you?
So my kids are the opposite of hers. My son is laser focused on sports and school. He barely sees girls. The girls see him, and his sister makes sure that she lets him know that the girls see him as well. But he has friends, but he's not dating. As Bree said, he did take a girl to the homecoming, but it was just a friend. It's actually his best friend's cousin. So it was like, it kind of worked out that way. I mean, he notices girls, he says what girls are pretty, but he's not really trying to date. Now that he's driving, that may change. My daughter, she's moving a little faster than my son is. She's my freshman, and at first, like Bree said with homecoming, she had a date, but he wasn't her boyfriend at the time. They were just friends, and then about 2 weeks later, she's like, Mom, I got something to tell you. She's like, I got a boyfriend, and I'm just like, oh, okay. But it's not like they don't go anywhere. So it's like, what are they really doing? It's more like they're on the phone. They see each other at school. And he's a really nice young man. I actually know his parents, so that's a plus
That's
when you
good.
know that
Yeah.
they come from a good family. So that puts you a little more at ease. But I haven't had a lot to deal with yet from the dating side, luckily. So
That's good.
hopefully it stays that way.
Yes. I feel like that's a whole other thing because I feel like it can be like, again, like that boundary, like you want them to have their own experiences and glean and, you know, come to their own conclusions about interacting with the opposite sex. But then you also want to like put them on game, for lack of a better phrase, but
Right.
you don't want to, you know, our experiences are our experiences. They deserve to create their own experiences. But at the same time, and I think that's parenthood in general, you want to protect your kids and you don't want them to make the same mistakes that you did or, you know, fall into the same pitfalls, so to speak. But they're going to, if they don't do what we did, they're going to make their own mistakes. So it's like that,
Right.
finding that balance of when to just listen and kind of let them learn on their own and when to really lean in and like pull the mom card and be like no and shut something down and cut something off. So looks like neither of you are there yet, so that's good.
No, not
That is
yet.
very good.
Yeah, that's good. So I think we've covered most of the topics that I think we wanted to. I think the last thing, and it's more of an open-ended question, but you know, your kids you're almost done, as they say, right? Like we say,
Almost.
kids are grown at 18, even though we know that, you know, I'm 34. And
Never.
last week I was sick and I called my mom. I was like, Mommy. Like how Trey says, Mommy. I was like, Mom. She's like, what's wrong? What's wrong? I was like, nothing. I just don't feel good and I want to whine to you. But how have you prepared your children for adulthood, or how do you feel like you've prepared your children for adulthood? Maybe like the top 2 or 3 lessons or things that you've instilled in your children that you feel like are going to empower them to be happy, healthy, whole, and productive adults.
That's a loaded question. For me, I make sure that my kids are responsible for whatever decisions that they make. I make sure that they know that the decisions that they make are going to affect them in the future. That's really important for me because, you know, in our community, you know, we make decisions, and once we make a decision, and whether it, you know, is something that may nail us in juvenile or jail or whatever, it's really hard for us to come back from that as opposed to other ethnicities. So that's one of the major things that I instill in my kids, responsibility, just being responsible for yourself and the decisions that you make, and making good choices. Because I mean, ultimately, that's really what matters.
I love that.
And I agree with what Melanie said, just instilling in them and making good choices. I tell them all the time that it's not you that I don't trust, it's everybody else that I don't trust. Like we're ready to be able to go out in the world and take care of themselves, but I just always am telling them to be mindful of, you know, other people that may try and like, you know, do them harm. But we also them that like our parents never taught us about like how to have good credit and just different things. I know I'm like going from one subject to another.
No, but that's huge.
No, that is definitely
Trying to teach them
Definitely the
things.
credit part, because we definitely don't get that.
Yeah,
No,
I
they don't
feel
teach
like
me
us
nothing about that.
especially, it's not taught in schools, and it should be. And
Like
I feel like,
taught me about saving money, so
yep,
that. So
yeah, I think that's so important because in this country, if you're not financially healthy, it's going to be really hard for you to do anything that you want to do or that you have to do. So I love that you mentioned that because I think that's important too. And that goes in line with what you both were saying about just being responsible for yourself and making wise decisions. That's 360. That's with everything.
Yeah.
Not just, you know, dealing with other people or school or anything. That's your money. It's everything. Because one bad decision financially can set you back for years.
Yeah, them credit cards we was getting in college.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's everybody up.
I was like, oh, why isn't it working? It's like you hit the limit and you haven't paid Nan bill yet, man. I was like,
Right.
I forgot about the part where I gotta pay for all of this.
They don't tell you that when they sign you up and give you that free
Right.
gift card or
Exactly.
whatever.
Exactly. Well, thank you ladies so much. This was amazing. Like, Erica and I said for this season, we wanted to just learn more about what we have to look forward to as moms of 2 kids. Well, 2.5, almost 3 kids under the age of 5. Knowing we still have a bit of a long road ahead of us. You guys are almost done, as they say. So we just want to thank you for your conversation, your advice. We appreciate it. We'd love to have you back on future seasons.
Yes.
Normally, when we have people on, we allow, if you're comfortable, if you want to share your social handles or where people can follow you. We're trying to really, our goal with this is to create a community of millennial Black mothers like ourselves, where we can have more conversations like these on and off the podcast. So on Instagram, on Facebook, etc. So if you guys want to share your handles, you can. And if not, totally understand.
Yes,
my
totally
Facebook
understand.
handle is Melody Simmons. It's my name. It's just regular Melody Simmons at Facebook. My Instagram, I don't know that one by heart.
What is it? It's like Noki something. Hold on.
I think that's my Snapchat. Let's see.
Oh.
Try to bring it up. True
Aquarian.
Aquarian. So TRU_Aquarian. Yes, that is my Instagram.
Melody, are you an Aquarius?
I am, girl.
Hi.
I was gonna ask you guys, what are your kids? So, okay, you guys are both Aquariuses. Erica, you're a Scorpio, right?
Yeah.
I'm a
Happy birthday.
Cancer. What are your kids? So, Melody, what are your kids?
My son is a Scorpio and my daughter's a Taurus.
Okay. Lisa, what are your kids' signs?
My daughter's a Virgo and my son is a Libra.
Woo. Okay.
Yes.
We vibe with Libras. That's why her son vibe like that.
Yeah.
So Eric, my son's dad, which is Melody's sister, is a Libra.
Oh, okay.
And they like this.
Yeah, we think it's Steve.
So Lisa, do you want to share your social?
Oh, yes. My Instagram is makeup by Lisa_Marie. And my Facebook is just Lisa Johnson _Hayes.
Love it. Awesome.
And your Facebook?
I'm sorry, what you say?
What was Melanie's Facebook?
Melody Simmons.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to follow you, just so when you get back up and running with this makeup when I'm in Georgia, I might need to get my makeup done, girl.
Well, thank you guys again so much for joining us. We really appreciate it. And then also to our listeners, thank you so much for continuing to support us, to listen to the podcast, following us on our own platforms. So you can always DM us, comment, follow, share at Shit Your Mama Ain't Tell You on Instagram. I don't know why I always laugh when I say it, right? Even when I tell people we didn't come up with the name together, but
right.
Thank you again. We really appreciate it. And until next time.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you, ladies.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Thank
Have a good night,
you.
ladies.